Hi, my name is Cordy, and it sort of occurred to me that the titles of these videos were initially meant to be sort of a joke, and now we've moved so far away from the original joke that it just looks like I'm seriously saying that you need to learn these licks. You don't, but you could. This is a special edition where, in apology for my titles, I'm going to do 4 licks because I was asked by someone on my Patreon whether I could break down these 4, and they all from the same session of recording and from the same basic group of solos. There's a few sort of shared things. I guess they sort of go from difficulty from easier to slightly more difficult, all kind of in my normal legato-ish, pentatonic-ish style. So there might be something useful in it. Here's the actual licks. And now I'm going to break them down sort of one by one. It's worth saying that these will be on my Patreon if you want the tabs for these. I'm going to try and break them down here, so you don't need to necessarily go on there if you don't want to, but that's the place to go to find all my backing tracks and chord melodies and all the jazz stuff that I try to look at, and also make requests for future kind of lick videos. The Carlos Rios, for instance, that was a request, and pretty much all of the licks and stuff that you see me breaking down these days tend to be requests from improvised videos and stuff. So that's a relatively simple-ish pentatonic lick. You'll notice that there's one note in there that's not directly out of the pentatonic, so this note here, we're in F sharp major or E flat minor or D sharp minor, whichever you want to think of it as. And it's basically kind of just a run up the pentatonic and moving in a couple of different boxes. So we've got this kind of sliding into the next box shape. So we're starting off in this kind of box shape just under the one that you'll be familiar with of E flat minor. And then slide into that shape, up the shape, and then sliding out of that shape into the next shape up, and then back down. And then skipping 2 notes of the triplet, and then coming back down the triplets. And then we hit that outside of the pentatonic note, which is our natural 7. And then another slide down. So hopefully that kind of shows you the anatomy of that lick. As I say, the tab will be on Patreon. And kind of what makes that lick tick, if you like, that's a weird thing to say, are those slides between. So you could practice kind of just practice sliding between pentatonic boxes. That's basically the motor behind that lick. And so hopefully that's cleared kind of that piece up, and now on to the next lick. So this next lick is containing some of those similar concepts from the first lick, but also combining some of my more typical legato kind of phrasing. So the very first part, fairly normal legato kind of pattern for me. So using those kind of 3-note per string shapes. Ascend. So ascend on the first string, and then on the second string, got that kind of pattern. And then the second part, we're going to be combining sort of the major 7 arpeggio and kind of pentatonic fragments. So we're going to ascend up the F sharp major arpeggio. So the important thing to do is to really crush the slide so they're just like a part of the front of the note. So like a good little slidey exercise there. This third one is made up of these kind of faster ideas again. We're using that pattern just below the normal pentatonic pattern. I think it's that. Something like that. And the way that I'm picking it, as always, is basically the left hand is doing the majority of the work. Where there's string changes, I'll be picking in the direction of the string change. So you'll see me kind of sweeping, essentially, is what it might look a bit like. And then the very final lick, I'm going to take a look at now and see if I can get it under my fingers, but it's quite a long lick and it's made up actually of 2 clips together, so maybe I won't break it down here right now, but it's going to be taking those same ideas and putting them together. So as I showed you with the second lick, what I would do is kind of split up the parts and practice each part individually. The last lick is quite tricky and there's like position shifts, and look on the tab at where the actual where you're going to be landing fingers, because that should help you. So you know, like there's bits of 3 note per string, and it's kind of important that you end up starting those 3 note per strings with the right finger. So look for the fingering of those. But basically, if you start it all kind of nice and slow and make sure that you're positionally copying what my hand is doing, you should be fine, I think. It's basically those same concepts as I was using in those first 3 licks, but over a longer kind of phrase. So hopefully that was useful. As I say, this was kind of a request, and I hope you find it interesting. Hopefully, if you want the tabs, they'll be on Patreon, and also the backing track is up there, and all of my other backing tracks and those that you request will go on there. But thank you for watching, and I'll catch you for another video soon. Cheers.